love them, and it's sort of not, and you start to be really concerned about their future. So, anyway, but it harkens back to Edna Bruce. It harkens back to attitude and the compassion of God. And it harkens back to action and someone prepared to act. It's beautiful, beautiful. And it's right in the line of what Jesus was saying in Matthew 25. Another story I want to tell you is this, and this is another family in Pukekohe, and they'd lost their mum. And they were sort of like, the husband was a Maori man and she was European, and they'd lost their mum. They were very, very poor. The tangi, well, the funeral had been, and somehow or another, it was very evident that they were very, very poor. I mean, I didn't know them at all. I think Morris might have known them, didn't you? And Morris said to Lily Smith, because we just had our mid-year Christmas dinner for the small group leaders, I think. We had a whole lot of food left over, and we thought, Morris said, maybe you guys could go and visit these people. And we thought, okay. Lily Smith is a bit of a larrikin, you know. I should be respectful, but, you know, there's always something going to happen if you take Lily. Anyway, we went into the house, and I was a little bit shocked because there's hardly any furniture, and also it was overcrowded. But anyway, we brought the food in and said, this is where we're from, and we heard the sad news, and here's some food, and that was that. And then we sat down, we started talking about Mum. And then we started talking and just explaining a bit about it. And then it started to twig with Shelley. It just so happened, do you believe in it just so happened? No. It just so happened that Shelley became aware that this woman who had died was in her class or at school. Just so happened. This lady had a mental illness. She had that struggle, and she actually used to walk around Puke sort of in quite ragged clothes. But Shelley sort of had seen her before and thought, I think I know her. Anyway, what actually happened is when we were sitting and talking with her, it became absolutely crystal clear that she knew her. They didn't have a photograph of her. So Shelley said, look, I tell you what, I've probably got some school magazines at home, and I'll see if I can pull one out and get a photo and get it to you. And we said that, and we went, and then 1 week went by, and 2, we were busy, 3, maybe a month, 6 weeks. I was walking home from work. Some of you might say to me, Grant, you should run home from work. Anyway, I was walking home from work, and I came up to this crossroad. I was walking down Seddon Street, just past the Catholic Church, and then this other road was just in front of me, and this car didn't screech to a halt, but sort of really heavily braked, and this Maori guy got out of the car, and he started running towards me. And I thought, am I going to get the bash? But then I knew that I'm a gangster. Now, you may think, how on earth are you a gangster? Let me tell you how I know I'm a gangster. Because there I was last week at work. You never should start a story and then start another one if you're preaching. Anyway, here's this other story, and I'll try and get back on track. But there I was at work with this 80-year-old lady, and I was doing a trust for her and setting up her will and doing this property transaction. And I'd sort of seen them once before, and I was finalising the documents and busy towards the end of an hour-long interview. And this elderly lady, she was about 78, leant over and whispered something to her daughter. And the daughter said, Mum. And they sort of were looking at me. You know, you hate it when someone sort of is probably mocking you and you don't know. And I said to her, what's funny? What's happening? No, it's all right. I said, no, what's happening? And she said, Mum thinks you look like Al Capone. And then the rest of the interview with her, I kind of struggled whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. And then I thought, I must Google what Al Capone looks like. He's not pretty. He's not pretty, I can tell you. So anyway, get back to the other story. This guy's running towards me, and then he stops right in front of me, and I recognize him as the son of this family. And he says this to me: "Have you got Mum's photo?" You see, some of this stuff is so God. Some of it is so intimate. Some of this stuff is a huge adventure. And I'm only just in the beginning of it. I'm bumbling around on it, you know. And I said to him, "I'm sorry. You know the way, I wish I'd done it sooner." I got straight home to Shelley, and you know the way it is with husbands sometimes? Husbands are full of good ideas, and who really does the work? Yeah, okay. Shelley, straight away the next day, went up to Matt's Photoshop and got the picture shrunk down and got it like this size, right? This size. And I thought, what would they like as a photo frame? And I thought they're married people, they'll probably like a power photo frame. I quite liked it, but I thought I'll give it to them. Wrapped it up, did a card, and I thought what I'd do is I'd put $50 in that card. I had to talk to Shelley, and she said maybe $200. Don't you hate it when that happens? Have any of you had an envelope with money in it? Put your hands up. It's awful, isn't it? It's awful when you get... No. It's fantastic. It's fantastic, particularly when you open up the card and you see one $20 note there. Oh, well, that's lovely, but then you can't count them in one glance. That's great. That's great. And I thought, this is what we'll do. And so I picked it up and jumped in the car. And you know, it was just before Christmas. I think it might have been Christmas Eve. And I thought I'd take this around to them. And I turned up, I drove up outside their gate. And obviously the family was sort of meeting together. And there's a few Steinlagers going around. And obviously, and then I sat in the car and I thought, because I thought definitely they're not going to have ham or turkey. But maybe they will with this. And then I thought, I wonder if they're just going to spend it on booze. You know, Morris said something about handing, you know, just grace, just love, just giving. You know, look, if Jesus actually decided whether you're going to do the right thing with everything that he was going to give you, you know how much you'd get given? Nothing. So we've got to be like Jesus. Anyway, I gave him the card and the picture, and you could tell it meant so much to him. It was such a simple thing. And then I left. I said, well, have a good Christmas. I didn't wait for him to open the card. I haven't heard from them since because they don't know where we live and they don't know my name. And I haven't purposely done that. But you know what I'm doing? This boy Cain, he's my thumb on my hand. You know, so this isn't secret. You know, if you're visiting, you probably think, is this sort of a secret society here? No, this is the fun. You know, we've all got our hand. As a church, we believe in people to get saved and we're praying for them. He's my thumb. So, you know, in affluence, it's kind of like, you know, I actually think that I'm sort of moved out of the kind of stingy zone into the moderately generous zone, but I live with someone that's extravagantly generous. You know, and, you know, Shelley can do, and, you know, this is what Jesus is all about. He's all about extravagance. He wants us to have attitude change and have compassion, and then he wants us to act, and then he wants to use our affluence and money extravagantly. Extravagantly. And, you know, sometimes when Shelley starts doing something, I'd say to her, what are you doing that for? And she'd sort of talk, and sometimes she'd talk and explain, well, other times she'd just say, shut up. You know, and it's great. You know, and, you know, like the other thing that the thing that I'm thinking about is this. How do we get the attitude? You know, Lord, give us your heart, give us your heart, give us your... What's the theological basis for that song we saw on Richard Jupp did the other day? What's the theological basis for the fact that God can take out and give us his heart?